Hello everyone, welcome to another video on Metronic. In this video, we will discuss with you on how you can kickstart your very first project by first creating your project by creating new files and folders and creating the general file structure on how your project should start, and use Metronic as a companion tool where you can use Metronic's layout builder to generate your layout right from the start, and then create pages where you can use Metronic's elements and components and just move the designs and elements into your project very quickly and very easily. So to start, you first need to, of course, purchase Metronic. Once you've done that and downloaded Metronic, you will need to run all the yarn and npm and stuff like that. We highly suggest that you watch our first video, the installation of Metronic, if you haven't already. But if you have, then we can just go on with this. So to start, what we first need to do is we'll need to create our project. And we need to create our project on a localhost environment. You can always use your create a localhost environment using WAMP or XAMPP or even the Gulp localhost if you need, but you definitely need some sort of localhost environment. Once that's done, once you have a localhost environment, what we're using here is WAMP. So we have our localhost up and running, and the language that we will use for this video will be PHP. However, you're not limited to use PHP. You are free to use any language as you want for your project. However, the concept will be the same, like the essence behind the creation of your project folders, your project files, your project file structure, and then moving all the HTML files or HTML code from the Metronic demo source into your project and then running it on your localhost environment. That should the concept of that will be the same. However, we will be using PHP language as our demo language. So let's start. First thing we need to do here is we need to create the folder structure or your project folder. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just have to navigate to my www folder and then create a new folder called Metronic app, for example. And in this folder, we need to have 3 main folders. We will need an assets folder, we need a pages folder, and we will need a partials folder. We will definitely need these 3 folders. The assets is where all the assets will sit. We will get into that on how you can use our build tool to deploy and compile and deploy all of Metronic's assets into this project folder. We also need the pages where we will keep all our basically our PHP pages. Like maybe instead of you definitely have an index, a home page, and then you have like maybe 2 other pages. However, in this project, we will only create 2 pages for you to have a look. Partials is where we have all our partials that is pre-generated by our layout builder. So once we run our layout builder, you will definitely see that. Next is, in order to make this project a little bit easier for us to navigate from the demo source to your project, is we recommend you to have the default package of Metronic to be sitting within your project folder. What we mean is, if you have a look at like Metronic's theme or zip file, you go into the default package, and this is all the things you see here, right? What you need to do is we need to get this, copy this whole package and put it into your projects like this. Just copy it and then paste it. And once that's done, you can then navigate the demo source code via the same IDE. We will demonstrate to you that in more detail as we go on. However, when you deploy your project to your staging or your production server, you don't need to upload the default package. Okay, so next thing to do here, whilst this is running, what we're going to do here is we're going to select our layout. So Metronic comes with 12 demos, right from the get-go. And what we can do here is maybe we can select one of the demo layouts that might look good. Let's take our demo 12. Okay, so once we're happy with this layout, like the menus are on the side, then we have a top bar, we have our main content like here in this main area, and then you have like some little buttons at the top. So let's say that this is the layout that my project will be built on. What we need to do now is to use the layout builder to maybe customize this layout a little bit more and generate the necessary files that we need to use for our project. And how do we get to our layout builder is we have a look at this small little tab here and click on this icon, and we head into our layout builder. So in our layout builder, we have a few options, like you can have like a page loader if you need, or you can customize your header. Do you want a fixed header or a mobile fixed header or stuff like that? And even you can have like certain stylings, or maybe a way that you want to do like accordion, or you want to do a drop down for your sub menu toggle and stuff like that. But let's say that this is exactly how we want our layout to look like for our project. You can just go ahead and click export. Ensure that you're not a robot, and then submit. So what this is doing is Metronic will now compile and package all our layout files into a zip file for us to just download and deploy into our project. So now that it's done, let's put it into our let's save it into our project folder, which is the Metronic app folder. Save it there. It's done, and let's look at our project, and all we have to do now is just to extract it right here in the root. And once the file is extracted, you will see the layouts.html and index.html here. And if you go into our assets, nothing is still there. That's fine, because we haven't compiled our assets yet. Our pages is still blank because we still haven't created our pages yet. Now in our partials, we see all this, which is from our layouts builder. All these are basically the layout files or layout source or configuration, or basically the HTML stuff or HTML code for the layout. So now that we have all this, since we are building a PHP based project, we will need to rename all our HTML files into PHP. Let's go ahead and delete this zip file because we don't need it anymore. And to rename it, you can just easily just rename it like so. Yep, and we need to rename all these files as well. The shortcut to do this on Windows is to open up the command prompt from this folder. To do that, the shortcut will be just click on the address bar and just type in cmd. So open up the command prompt and then type in ren, which is rename all files that are .html to all files.php, and they are all now in PHP. So now that that's done, what we need to do here is, let's see if the default package is now complete. You may see that we are missing a dist folders because we have not built our demos yet. So let's go ahead and build our demo, which is just typing gulp. Oops, it's a typo there. So let's run for a bit, and whilst that's running, we'll open our IDE and open up our project folder. So let's go ahead and go to Metronic app and use this folder. So Let's close this, we don't need that anymore. And as you can see here, this will be our whole entire project. These are all our files, our pages files, which we will have. We'll be creating new pages here. Our assets folder will be here when we compile and deploy our stuff. And as what we mentioned is, once you have the default package within your project folder, you can then browse the source code of the default or the Metronic source packages right from your IDE. So let's go ahead and have a look at what we have in our index.php first, because that's where our code starts. So in our index.php, you will notice if you scroll a little bit at some lines you see here, we have some commented code where we specify that this is where you should include the other files. For example, in this line of line 46 in index.php, you need to include the layout. Since we are running this, or we will be running this project on PHP, we can just go ahead and change it to a PHP include code, which is like so. Include layout.php. Take all that out. Close that, and it's included. So we'll need to basically do all this for all our layout builder files. So if you go to our layout.php, you'll see similar lines of code that needs to be converted into PHP include code. So I will fast forward this portion whilst I will just convert everything into PHP code and get back to you once it's done. Okay, it's all done and updated. When you update all the commented code to include the files, necessary files, make sure that you double check all the files within the partials to ensure that you don't miss out any include lines of code. Okay, so this is done. Let's double check. Yep, our demos are built. You can close that. And next, what we need to do here is we need to basically compile and deploy all of Metronic's assets into your project. So to do that, we can just have a look at our build.json file from the Metronic default package. So basically this is the Metronic default package under tools, and then you see the build.json. You basically see this. What this here means is like the build.json is basically Metronic's build tool, where we can configure and customize the deployment of Metronic's assets. What do we mean by that is we can control or configure that which demo assets that we want to deploy, where do we want to deploy it, should it be RTL or not, or even do you want to include or exclude certain vendor files or vendor packages. All this customization tutorials, or we will create a new customization tutorial after this video or our next video to discuss more in depth on basically how to use and customize Metronic's build tool. But for this video, or for your very first projects, all you need to really know is the demo field and the dist field. The demo field is pretty straightforward. What you need to do here is you just need to type in the demo that you want to compile. If it's left as blank, it will compile every demo into every asset from every demo into your project's assets folder, which we don't really want to, because it will bloat your project. So what you want to do here is you want to type in demo 12, because that's the demo we are using. So what it does is it will only compile and deploy all of demo 12's assets into your project. And how do we deploy it into your project rather than its default location is by configuring the dist path. The dist path basically specifies where all the Metronic's assets, or where of Metronic CSS, JS, and even all the vendor plugins and whatnot will be parked or pushed into. So if you put our project assets folder here, it will then be compiled into that folder. Now, we're going to do just that. So, but before we do that, we need to find out what is our assets path. So to do that, what we do is go to our assets folder in our project, type in the address bar, and copy that path. And then simply just paste it here, and then replace the slashes to the correct direction, and save. Now, once this is saved, all we need to do now is to run gulp. When you run gulp, it will just compile all of Metronic's assets, which is the CSS and JS, and basically deploy it to this path. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's look at, let's go to our tools because we need to compile it, and then type in cmd to open up the command prompt. And before we run gulp, let's look at our assets folder, which is now blank, and watch it populate. So type in gulp, let it run, and we wait. And there we go, it's being populated now, and it's done. So you can just have a look in our CSS. We have our demo 12 stuff, our JS, similar, and everything else. So what we can do next is we can just test our project like right now to see whether it's the layout is working. So let's go ahead and type in our localhost /Metronic. And there you have it. Our layout is working. We currently do not have any content available. It's because we didn't set any content yet. But this is essentially how you kickstart your project. You have your layout ready, or basically use Metronic's layout builder to just cut short this entire process. You don't have to build like your grid or anything like that. Everything's just ready and ready for you to use to deploy. And once you've used the layout builder, put it into your project, and then compile and deploy the assets into your project's assets folder, and then you have this up and running in probably less than 15 minutes. So now we'd like to discuss on, as mentioned in the beginning of this video, we mentioned that we recommend you guys to use Metronic as a companion app or companion tool. And what do we mean by that is we will use Metronic as like a or elements library or components library. So like if we go here, this is our demo, right? Like we go to our dashboard and say that, okay, I would like this, I like this whole entire dashboard to be in my project, right? So what I do is I will just grab the source code from the HTML files from the default package source and put it into my project. And then if I like something else, maybe I like in my application, like maybe a add user element, and I just look at it, okay, maybe I like this, and I grab this and I put it into my projects. So this demo is for you guys to just browse through the extensive library that Metronic has, and then you can just pick and choose whichever you want. And once you've selected the element or component that you want, then you just grab it and put it into your project. And how do you grab and put it in your projects? It's actually very simple. So let's say I want this entire demo into my project. Like I want all these widgets, this like recent activities and whatnot. I want all this into my project. So what I do is I'll look into the path. The path will be basically preview demo 12 and then index. So what that means is if you go to let's look at in our IDE, you go to default, you go to dist, and you go to demo 12 and an index. And this is basically where the files are located. So, and where the content area is located is, you can just do a quick find for kt-content. So everything here, let's minimize this, everything in here is your content. So let's just go ahead and copy that, and now we need to figure out where do we paste it in our project, right? So if you go back to our index.php, which is our project's PHP index page, we can see that it's basically loading or including the layouts.php. And if you look into our layout, we will see there's this file called content base. And content base is where we add our content. So let's look at our partials, content base, and we see this. So if we look into our, let's see, index.html, yep. So this is our demo 12 source. So if you have to look at our element, our content element is exactly the same as this. You have KT content, KT grid item, exactly the same, fluid, and all this stuff. So this is where your content sits. So all you need to do is you just simply copy and paste. Then maybe scroll the way up and then maybe just clean it up a bit and save. So let's have a look at our project. These are projects. I can have a quick refresh, and our dashboard is now up and running. So that is basically how you can just copy and paste code into your project from Metronic. And of course, just having a index or homepage won't really you can't really call that a full-fledged project. So you need pages in it, and how you do that is we will need to create pages for it. So let's go ahead and create some pages. Let's call this page 1. We save that as page-1.php, and let's create another one. Call it page 2 for now, and name it page-2.php. You can of course rename it to whatever you want. It's totally fine. And what we need to do now is, if we look at our project, we need to somehow navigate to those page 1 and page 2, and basically we need to update this menu to link to those two pages. And how do you do that is, if you go to our partials and if you go to our aside menu.php, this is basically where the menu HTML, the menu source is located. And all you have to do is we need to rename certain things. Like you have like departments up here, which is this one here, and then you have resources, which is like this whole what do you call, container, I suppose. And in this container you have like layouts, inner, timesheet payroll, layout, inner, timesheet payroll, and context, which is context. Yeah. So what we need to do now is let's rename it. Let's call this Metronic app, and instead of a resources name, let's call this my pages. Put this here as well, and then rename this to page 1 and page 2. And what we can do is we can just delete all that and remove all the li files or li tags. We do not need that anymore. Remove all that, save that. Let's look at our project. This is our project. Refresh, and we have my pages. Open it, page 1, page 2. So if you click that, of course, still nothing happens is because we didn't link it yet. How do we link it is we just have to replace, if you see this, it says a href there. We just need to put a question mark, and since we're using PHP, actually it doesn't matter if you're using PHP, this is just what we're doing is we're creating a URL parameter where PHP can then just get and then control which page to display at any given time. So you can do page equals 1, sorry, this is 2, and do the same thing here, and this is 1. Refresh our page, and if we click this, you see the URL change, which is perfectly how we want it, but it's still, of course, it's still displaying the dashboard simply because we don't have our controller set up. So let's first, maybe we can just change our title for Metronic dashboard to, let's call it Metronic app, which is our project name, so that we can differentiate between our project and the source, Metronic source. So let's go ahead and now look back into our demo to see what should we use to populate our page 1 and page 2. So maybe for our page 1, we could use our a data table, for example. Let's use a simple HTML table. And let load. Yep. So let's say we want this entire page, this core content with all this functionality in our page 1. So how do we do that is similar with our initial dashboard. We look at this. So we see CRUD Metronic database base HTML table. So if we go back into our go back to our IDE, go back to our default package, which is Metronic source, and if you go to our demo 12, you see there's actually no other folders. That's because all the other demos other than demo 1 will only contain the layout HTML. It will not contain any other component or page or custom pages that Metronic has. All those pages or all those components and elements are stored within demo 1. So even if we look here, it's demo 12 CRUD. So what this means is in where this located is in demo 1 and this path. So if you look in our IDE, demo 1 CRUD, was it Metronic data tables? Am I right? Yep. Metronic data tables and base and HTML table. So this is where the file is located. And what we need to do now is same thing. Copy, just find for KT content, and we find the content, minimize the entire content segment or section, copy that, go into, we have way too many pages open, so let's just close all this because we don't need it anymore. Go to our page 1 and paste it. Minimize this and format it. Save that, and now our page 1 contains the data table. So to preview that, we first need to create our page controllers. How to do that is we can do that in our layout. So what we do here is we need to basically change this include file from the content base to switch to page 1 when it's viewing page 1. So how we can do that is we can just use our PHP to get put a variable which is say page equals get page, so we can get it, and then in here we put another PHP script where we can put if page equals index, because we do have an index, or page equals blank, right? We put the content base, else we include our page, which is page, no, sorry, it's pages, alright? Yep, it's pages slash page dash something dot which is the page number dot php, and close that, and that's pretty much it. So we now have our page controller in a layout, and let's go ahead and test that. So we are in page 2 now, so let's just go back to our index. Yep, and go back to page 1. As you can see, our data table is now working. For some reason, our dashboard is also displaying here, so let's go ahead and debug that. Oh, I see what's going on. We need to remove this. And yep, our dashboard is now gone. But as you may notice, we do not have any data. And why is that? Is because perhaps this page has additional JS files that we need to include. And how do we check that? Is we go to our Metronic source, which is the HTML table.html, scroll all the way up and just have a quick glance on whether is there any, or are there any additional CSS that we need to include. Looks like there isn't. Scroll all the way down, and then we'll see if we need to include any JS. Yep, we need to include this, which is our data table JS. Put it into our index right here, just right below the dashboard. And before you go back to your project, you need to double check if your path is correct. If you see here, there is a demo1 here, which is wrong because it needs to be a demo12. And simply because if you look at our assets, everything is sitting under demo12. So we need to change that to demo12, and we save it, and then we do a quick refresh, and everything's working. So this is essentially how you can just copy and paste code from Metronic source and put it into your project. So let's go ahead and try something else. Let's try the wizards. Yeah, wizards good. Let's say wizard 2. Yep, let's add wizard 2 into our page 2. So to do that, we need to navigate to custom pages wizard. So same thing, demo1, custom pages wizard, and there you have it, wizard 2. Find KT content, copy the KT content, and put it in your page 2. Save that, and also clean it up a bit. Save, and let's have a look at our page 2 in our project. Oh, okay, it's working, but there is no the stylings are wrong and the functionality is wrong. Similar with our data table, we need to also double check the CSS. So let's see, what else do we have here? Do we have, oh yep, we have a wizard2.css. Let's add that in our index. Let's put it maybe after the full calendar, and then again double check your assets. It should be 12. Go down, check if there's any additional JS. Yes, it does. Copy that, go back to your index, scroll all the way down, paste that, paste it right below your data table, and fix your path. Save that, and then do a quick refresh on your project, and it's now working perfectly fine. So there you have it. This is a very quick and easy way how you can just kickstart your very first project using Metronic. It's very easy, and it is very convenient for you guys to use Metronic's demos as a companion, just to go ahead and just browse around. Like, okay, I like this pricing table, and I'll put this element into my project and go from there. So use Metronic's demos as your companion. Use Metronic's layout builder as the first step to build your entire layout without any hassle. So just to recap, first thing you need to do is you need to create your project folder, which is in the project folder you need to have three main folders, which is the assets, pages, and partials. And then also we recommend, you don't really have to, but you recommend to put the default package into your project folder. But once you deploy it to your staging or production servers, you do not need to include the default package in those servers. But as you're developing, we suggest that you have the default package there, simply because you can just navigate from your project assets here, and then the Metronic source here, and scroll all the way down. This is where your project files are located. So everything is just easily accessible via the same IDE. And once that's done, use Metronic's layout builder to build the layout, or you can just select the layout that you want, customize it a little bit, and then save the layout into your project, extract it into your project root folder, and then the index layout and partials will be populated. What you do then is you can keep it as HTML if you want, but we recommend you guys to change it to either PHP or something else that you are using, like a .NET or something else. And once that's done, you create your pages. And once you've created your pages, you can just use Metronic demo to browse to see which elements you want to use. And then once you found the elements that you want, look at the address path and then locate it. Locate the path from your IDE. And then once you found the path, go to the source, search for KT content to view all the content within it. You don't necessarily have to grab everything from the KT content if you don't need it. You can of course customize it by just adding and removing the HTML files, or just customizing it to whatever that your project needs. And once it's done, copy it, put it into your content base, which is your homepage, or page 1 or page 2 or any other page that you've created, and then use your partials, under partials, aside menu to customize the menu. And once you've done all that, you will have a full running project, possibly within the hour. So guys, I hope you find this video informative, and you fully understand on how you can kickstart your very first project really quickly and really easily. And we'll be creating more videos coming soon in the future. Our next video will be how you can customize the build tool from Metronic, how we can go through with you guys with all the vendor customization, the path customization, even how you can customize the build.json to suit your needs. And that will be our next video. So please subscribe to us on our YouTube channel and turn on the notification. So once we upload a new video, you get an update. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and all our social media. Links will be all in the description below. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.